ahead and record. I know there were a number of people that wanted to be on, so okay, so we're going to get started. Thank you for joining us. I am going to do a quick introduction, read Danny's bio for you, so you guys, for those of you who don't know Danny, you'll get a little bit more of an overview of who he is. So we are so privileged to have Danny from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He is in his 30th year with the Juice Plus Company. He's a national marketing director along with his wife, Debbie, who is also a national marketing director, and they are both charter members of the prestigious 100 Club, which is amazing that they both are together. I love that. He received the Go-Getter Elton Award, as well as was nominated for the international support of the Juice Plus Company. Danny says that one of his greatest honors was to be the closing speaker at the Juice Plus International Conference held in Memphis, Tennessee in 2014. I will never forget that closing. It was powerful, so powerful. Speaking of international support, in 1998, Danny was responsible for helping open business for Juice Plus Australia. And since that time, most of the business done in Australia is his team. And Danny travels there regularly to continue building and supporting that market. Danny spent 17 years in the supermarket industry and management before starting with the Juice Plus virtual franchise. Although he never went to college, because of his work in the direct sales industry, Danny is a professional lifetime member of Pi Sigma Epsilon sales and marketing fraternity from Louisiana State University. Danny was also on the council of the MLMIA, an organization that oversees and supports the direct sales industry. He's had the pleasure to speak on many different venues. He's spoken on TV, radio, within magazines and articles, and on college campuses. In fact, Danny was interviewed with Robert Kiyosaki for a magazine article back in 2000 when Kiyosaki was becoming well known for his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He and Debbie have two sons, Danny Jr. and Devin, and a daughter-in-law, Lindsay. He is recognized as one of the top Juice Plus speakers and trainers because he teaches and trains on a simple, understandable, and humorous level and manner. We are just so privileged to have you, Danny. I can't thank you enough for offering to do this for our team. Ready to go with pen and paper in hand. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Wendy. Thanks for inviting me on and having me. I was up in Ohio at the boot camp. It's several years ago now, but met some wonderful people, lifelong relationships that we formed. And that's really kind of, I think, what this business is all about, is all of us, you know, no matter what our title is, how long we've been around, what our background is, we're all, you know, working with one mission. And that is spreading the word about our wonderful company, the Juice Plus Company, and what we do from a product and distribution standpoint. So, Wendy, you just want me to take it away and run here? You give me a couple of questions and suggestions to go with here, and I can do that. And I'm open for questions at the end. I shouldn't go any more than about 4 hours on here. Yeah, I know I'm joking. I can't be serious all the time, but anyway, let me just tell you a little bit about, Wendy read that just like I wrote it, which was perfect. It's always hard listening to stuff about yourself, you know, and that type of thing. But I want to talk just briefly about my beginning journey with the company and how I got here, how, you know, this all came about. February of 1990, which was, you know, as Wendy said, going into our 30th year this past February, is, you know, in life, a lot of times what we do is, I was always taught here in South Louisiana, you know, we're Cajuns down here. We're not real healthy. Yeah, I like to say if you see someone running where I live, they probably stole something. You know, we don't exercise. We eat nothing but fried Cajun food. If it doesn't eat us first, we eat it, but we deep fry it first, that kind of thing. We're still trying to figure out how to deep fry bottled water so we can consume more water here, but we're working on that one. But I was just raised, work hard, get a good job, and that type of thing. And that's what I did. I was in the supermarket industry from the time I was in high school when I turned 16, got married in my early 20s, went full time in that grocery industry, never went to college or any higher education. As I said, got married and we had a child. But something major happened along the way that I did not plan on. And I went through a divorce with a 1-year-old son. And that was a real eye opener for me. And actually looking back on it now, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. But at the time, it was not. It was the worst thing that had ever happened to me, the worst time of my life. And I had to step back and say, I want to watch this little boy grow up. I want to be involved in his life. And if I keep working 80-hour work weeks and I'm off every other Sunday, 2 days a month, I'm not going to watch this boy grow up, very, very much. And so I went on a search trying to find something else to do, something that I could work normal hours maybe, and not in the retail business. It's just a 24/7 operation. And in doing that, after several years of not really being able to find anything, because remember, my resume was really short. It was high school and one company since the time I was 16. I didn't have any other skills. I didn't have any other, things to bring to the table. And I was doing pretty well because I had moved up in that company. And so when this was presented to me, I was a referral to someone. A guy called me one day and said, I understand you're looking for something to do. And I said, yes. He said, well, I just started a business, my wife and I, a couple of months ago, and I'd like to come talk to you. His name was Kerry Daigle. And I did not know Kerry. Kerry did not know me. We got together. I was the most skeptical person in the world because I had never been introduced to direct sales. I'd never been in sales. I could tell you for 17 years, every week, to the penny, what my paycheck was going to be. That was all the security that I had. But this has been life-changing. And that little boy's 34 now, and I did watch him grow up. I did not miss the sporting events and the school plays and the things like that. So to me, yes, we've been able to travel around the world. We've done very well income-wise, that type of thing. I like to tell people, I just kind of laugh sometimes because I think I worked really hard in the grocery industry, and I make now in weeks what it used to take me a year to make in that industry, and not working near as hard, I can promise you. This is work right now. This is real stressful, right? So, to me, it's been totally life-changing for our family. Debbie and I have been married. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary, April the 28th, so just a week or so ago. And so I brought a 5-year-old into a marriage, and we have a senior graduating. In fact, he'll be 18 tomorrow, his birthday. So our life has been just wonderful because of this company and this business. And so what Wendy had kind of asked me to share with you guys tonight is, how do I go about talking to people about the business side of this and the marketing side of getting someone started in the business? I think most of us, for the most part, are pretty good at talking to people about our products. The reason we're good at that is because, gosh, there's so many tools we can use. It's real simple to me. There's one formula that I follow all the time in talking to people about, whether it's our product or our business, especially our product, and it's conversation, invitation, presentation. Conversation, invitation, presentation. In other words, all I do is I engage in a conversation with people. And that typically starts, and here's my pickup line, that's what I call it, but here's the way I open conversation with people. I'll say, are you from here? That's my secret sauce. That's it. Are you from here? No, I'm not. Well, where are you originally from? Well, I'm from Ohio. Really? Well, what are you doing in Louisiana? See, it starts a conversation. So I engage in conversation, and in that conversation, that's for somebody maybe I don't know. I do the same thing with Warm Market, people I know. Just engage in conversation. How's work going? How are the kids doing? What you been up to? I haven't seen you in a while, or whatever the case may be. And in doing that in a conversation, somewhere along the point, you need to invite them to look. So conversation, invitation. And to me, the invitation, 99% of the time, is to look at a short video, especially with the product. Look at a short video. That's the invitation. So what's the presentation? The video. I let the people on there do the presentation. I don't try to do that. So if you mix these up, they don't work as well. I see so many people start in a conversation and they go immediately to presentation. And they wonder why people prejudge or they're not interested or whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind, guys. Conversation, invitation, presentation. To me, you have to do those three and in that order. You know, I let the little videos be the presentation. That's just to find out if they're interested or not, if they have some questions. So let's take that step now from, that's customer acquisition for the most part. And yes, I do lead with the product 99% of the time. Even if I'm wanting to talk to someone about the business, I still have to get them over the product. They have to think the product is decent before they can even look at the business. If they don't think the product's good, then the business is not going to make sense to them. So I still lead in that manner. Now, there's times that I don't, and that's usually when they give me a hint or mention something to me that they're dissatisfied. They need some extra money. They don't know, how they're going to afford the kids are going into private school. Or in other words, if they bring it up, then yes, I'll mix those messages, or maybe I'll even lead with the business. And then people say, well, what's the presentation? What do you send them if you're talking about the business first? I still send them a product presentation because they have to get over that and think that that's a good thing and embrace the product. So here, once we get someone on board coming into the business, I like to start really with the customer base. We've kind of made a shift a little bit over time with how we go about, inviting our customers maybe into the business and that type thing. But the first thing that I think everyone needs to understand is our business model, our distribution system. It's changed over the years. What I like to call what we do now is consumer to consumer marketing. People say, well, are you in the network marketing business? No, I'm not. I'm in the whole food business. That's the business I'm in. Were you in the network marketing industry? No, I'm in the whole food industry. That's the industry I'm in. Now, we use a distribution method that is a little bit different years ago, but it's becoming more common. Let me explain that real quick. Let's talk about first traditional distribution. Traditional distribution of a product, a pair of Nike tennis shoes, a pair of Air Jordan Nike tennis shoes. You got a product and research and design department with Nike. Then you have the manufacturer, which is Nike. From there, those shoes go to a wholesaler. Then they go to a retail outlet at the mall or whatever. Then there's sales agents there. There's people working in that store that's going to go to the back and get the size you need and so forth and so on. And then you and I come in and we purchase that product. Now, what you have to understand is everyone along the way makes a profit. All of those people make a profit. Now, I left two things out. One is advertising, and the other one is endorsements. That costs a lot of money. So you have to add those in. That's traditional business. We go in every day and purchase products or order them online or whatever, and that's usually the distribution chain that is followed. Let me give you a little hint here on Air Jordan tennis shoes. I've done some research on this. It costs Nike $16 a pair to produce a pair of Air Jordan tennis shoes. The average price, depending on the model, is $250 to $550 a pair. That's what they sell for. And in 2017, just because I don't have 2018 figures yet, Michael Jordan netted on his endorsement of his shoes with Nike over $100 million. So that's where all that money goes when we go in and spend $200 on a pair of tennis shoes. All of those people get paid. Let's look at this consumer to consumer marketing, which we use. We have a research and development and product design department. We have that. In other words, we have a department with our company that is always tweaking things and trying to make it better. Then we manufacture the product, okay? But then it goes through a sales agent to the consumer. See, we cut out the wholesaler we cut out the retailer, and we also cut out the advertising and the endorsements. So where does all that money go? That money goes about 50% of it to the company and about 50% of it back out to the sales agents. Because people can't get their head around, how can we sell these little bottles and make the kind of money that we make doing that? It must be marked up. Well, here's the thing. That money is redistributed in a different way because we don't have those other four things that traditional marketing has. So that's how we are able to create this opportunity that we have with the Juice Plus business model. Now, here's the cool thing about this. There's been a company that you probably have heard of that's starting to use this type of marketing that we use. I'm flattered. You know, we go from basically the manufacturer through a sales agent to the consumer. It's a little company called Amazon. Think about it. That's basically what they do. They're basically using our business model we've been using for, I don't know, since what, 1984, I think, with the company or something like that. A long time. So if you understand that, then you can understand how do I go about talking to people about our business. And here's what I like to do. When I get a customer or someone that's maybe getting ready to order products, or I just have taken an order from them, and I'm not going to say I do this with 100% of the people, but I think you can kind of use the 80-20 rule with about 80% of them. And what I like to do is tell them, look, we've got 3 options with our company to help you offset the cost of your product or make it more affordable for yourself and your family. Would you be interested in hearing anything about that? Of course, the first choice they have is they can just be a preferred customer and get it at the preferred customer price. That's fine. We've already discussed that when I'm taking their order. But I just ask them, would you like to hear a couple of these other options? And most people will say, again, 8 out of 10 would say, yeah, sure. What are you talking about? Well, the first option is we have this thing called a healthy starts for families, where, a child in a certain age can get their product complimentary. We have a foundation that I contribute to and our company contributes to that we can afford to do this for a child. Would you be interested in that? In other words, that's the first step to me of them offsetting maybe the cost of their product. The second way is what I call U and two. Like, what is U and two? Well, would you happen to know or think of maybe 2 other people that would maybe like to get on Juice Plus like you're getting on? You're not opening a business. You're not building a business. It's just, do you know maybe 2 other people that would be interested in that? And they will immediately start to think about brother, sister, mom, dad, child, whatever. They'll think about probably immediate family. So let me tell you how this works. If you got on, let's say, the 3 products, the fruit, vegetable, and berry capsules, and you knew of 2 other people to do that, the company's going to pay you $117 profit for that. And right now they've got a little incentive thing going on where they send you an extra $100. So you make $217, but here's the downside. The downside is you have to register with our company. It's kind of like Sam's or Costco. You pay a fee, or even Amazon, where you pay a fee and you get to buy products at a little better price or whatever. Our company does that. Plus, they need to know if they're going to send you this money, they need to know where to send it. So you got to be registered with them. And that's $50. That doesn't obligate you to anything. It's one time a year charge like Sam's or Costco. And the thing is with that is you don't have to renew it and you're not obligated to anything. So we got to take the $50 out of that $217. So just by you getting on this trio and think of 2 other people, you're putting $167 in your pocket. And if the 3 of you guys just stay on the product, the company's going to send you about $37 a month for as long as y'all stay on it. That pays for about half of your trio order. That's another option. Okay, so I throw that out there for them. And I don't get into how many days they have and HLP, and none of that's important. I'm just trying to, again, hit the highlights of what we have here. And then, of course, the third option is if you would be interested in really in building a business like I'm doing with this. And if you do, that's something totally different. So I like to do that with people just to throw it out there. Because here's the reality of it, guys. We've had Juice Plus on the market now a little over 25 years, and we've not reached anybody yet. I mean, I've heard different percentages of less than 2% of the marketplaces ever tried it, or 3%. I don't know what the figures are. All I know is 99% of the people out there don't know what it is. They may have heard of it, but when you ask them, well, tell me what you know about it, they don't know what it is. They think it's some machine or some drink, or they really don't know. So to me, if we don't increase the number of people that we bring in to the company that are out there promoting the product, now I'm not saying we're trying to recruit everybody, but if we don't increase those numbers, another 25 years, what are we going to be at? 4%? 5%? I mean, I think we need to up that a little bit. And I think the company feels that way too. That's why you're seeing a lot of the incentives and some of the things that are going that way over the last, year or so. So to me, that's really one way that you can do that. And if they're not interested, fine, leave it alone. Don't try to talk people in. It's one of the things I've always said about our business is never try to convince or salvage a customer. Never try to convince or salvage a franchisee. Always try to salvage the relationship. You don't want people running from you at the mall. You don't want to be that guy. So you're just presenting it. Engage in conversation. Invite them to look. Deliver the information. And then here's an easy way, if you feel comfortable with it, to try to introduce a little bit of what we do to people, because people like saving money. And I'm not misleading with them, but I can tell you, the person that does the U&2, they're not building a business. They're not starting a business. They're not a franchise owner now, because all they want to do is get a couple of people on with them to help offset the cost of their product. Now, they may become that later. So what do we do with someone that wants to start a business? What do we do with that person that says, look, I want to come on board with this, and I really want to do this, and because I want to make an extra couple of $100 a month or $500 a month or whatever it may be. I asked Carrie, I said, do you think there's any way that I could make $1,000 or $1,500 a month with this? And he and his wife, Nikki, had only been in the business a couple months. He said, I think we can show you how to do that. And I said, great, that's all I want to do, because if I could get that coming in, I could leave what I'm doing and take another job, because I was being offered things, but I was going to take, a pretty good cut and pay, $15,000, $20,000 or so a year. Well, 30 years ago, and it's still today, it's a lot of money, but 30 years ago, that was a heck of a lot of money to take that kind of cut. And I wasn't willing to do that. So my plan was just to do this for a period of time, and then I wouldn't have to do it anymore. I could quit this little side gig I got going on with this. Well, guess what I learned? I learned something about residual and passive income, that I could generate something with this without a large investment. Because in South Louisiana, the only way you generate a residual income is you either have an oil or gas well on your property, which there's a lot of those, but you either have that, or you write a hit song, or you're in a hit movie or something along those lines, you get those royalties. But unless you got a lot of money, you don't create that. But this gave me an avenue to do that. So I started to realize it wasn't the $1,000 or $1,500 a month I wanted. It was spending time with my little boy. And I kept that in front of me. And I kept it in front of me every time I got a negative. That's another lesson. Have a strong reason for doing this. You have to figure out what it is. Don't tell me it's a monetary amount, because if it's a monetary amount, tell me what that's going to allow you to do or not do. That's what I want to know. I don't want to know what the amount is. I want to know what that's going to allow you to do or not do. And for me, when someone was negative and didn't like me, didn't like my product, didn't like my business or whatever it was, I would just walk away and say, I'm not going to let that person keep me from spending time with my son. I didn't take it personally. Again, conversation, invitation, presentation. Wasn't about me in doing that. So what if someone wants to get started? Here's what I like to paint the picture of. I think if you're going to build a business, I'm not talking about just a U&2 person. I'm talking about somebody who wants to build a business, wants to generate some kind of income. And it doesn't have to be a lot. But I think they need to understand the best position to be in our company is the sales coordinator position. You're maximizing your earnings. You're not leaving any money on the table. That's really, the place you want to be. So I kind of start when I explain the business to someone that's getting started. Here's how I kind of explain it to them. What do you think about over the next 6 months, we work together and get you about 25 Juice Plus customers? Now, if you break that down, that's about one a week, right? 26 weeks is a half a year, 25 customers, 6 months. Okay, we skipped a week. We didn't get one week. But I want to paint this picture for them. What if we shoot for that? Because if we shoot for that, I know that's going to put you in a position 6 months from now to maximize your earnings. Now, let me tell you how we're going to break that down. Okay? And here's how we're going to break it down. The first thing we want to do is we're getting you on the product, or maybe they're already on the product, but let's say they're getting on the product. We're going to get you on the product, and I'm going to use the Trio as an example. You're getting on these 3 products. They may be on all 4, or they may be on the Complete or Shred or whatever. That's fine. But you're getting on these 3 products. The first thing we want to do as quick as we can is we want to find 2 other people to do what you just did, to just get on the Trio, get on the products. So that's our first goal. Most people, we can do that within the first week or so. I mean, I know they give you 30 days and all, but why do you want to take that? I don't even really get into that. Let's do that as quick as possible. Let's get 3, okay? And when you do that, you're going to make the profit on that, plus you're going to get moved up in our marketing structure to earn more on future orders, and the company's going to give you a bonus. So let's get that knocked out right away. Let's do that as quick as we possibly can. Then our next goal is to get 9 more. See, I want us to get halfway to our goal as quick as we can. That's 12 people. Now, it's going to be really cool if we could get a couple of people helping us along the way. Let's look for some people to maybe that want to do the U and 2. Maybe that's all they want to do. That's fine. But maybe some of them want to get a little more involved in the business. But we're going to be looking for that right out of the gate. So our goal is the next 9, but it would be great if we could get a couple of people to help us with that. So think about it. If you got just 2 people to do the U and 2, that's 6 there. So we only have 3 more to get. And the company gives you a couple of months to do all this, but man, if we really get together and lock arms, we can do this sooner. And you get another promotion, you're maximizing more of your earnings, and the company gives you more bonus money along the way. And then here's what we're going to do after that second month. We got 3 or 4 more months now that we want to get 12 more. We want to get our 25 or 13, whatever it is. And that's counting having some help with people. But I want you to focus on trying to get 25 yourself. Because all of you guys that are on here that have been with our company more than a week or 2, you know where I'm going with this. Think about this. They got 2 or 3 people working under them. They've got a couple of HLPs under them that did the U and 2, right? Because they're going to be the HLP. They got about 25 customers themselves over the 6-month period. So not only are they promoted to the sales coordinator level, they're self-qualified. Because to me, that's kind of the step between virtual franchisee and sales coordinators. Get your business self-qualified. So that kind of happens to them along the way. They become a qualified business along the way. So why do I paint this picture this way and break it back down? It's this reason. What I find a lot of people do is they explain to people the HLP. That's it. And when they do that, they say, oh, okay, here's what we need to do next. Well, wait a minute. I thought you told me this is what we had to do. They start to feel like maybe it's a little misleading. Or what I find most people do, they don't stop at the HLP. They'll tell them about the 2,000 plus. They'll tell them about how to get that second highest commission level and get the bonuses and the conference ticket and all that stuff. But they never mention the sales coordinator spot or that top position. So here's what happens. And you ask yourself this. How many people have you ever come into your business, get the HLP or 2,000 plus, and you lose them? They don't do anymore. It's like they quit. You know why? Because you put the finish line there. They finished the race. That's because that's where you put the finish line at. I like to put the finish line at sales coordinator and work back from there. Do I sit and tell them, look, this is what we got to do. We got to do $8,000 in volume or $12,000 or the $3,000 or $4,000 right now with the special deal that's going on. I don't get into all that. I break it down by, do you think we could get over an average of one a week, but we want to start off quick and get a few more than that, and we're going to get some help. I mean, doesn't that sound doable to most people? So what I'm doing is I'm not putting the finish line at HLP or 2,000 plus. I'm putting the finish line for them at sales coordinator. Well, I know this, by the time they're at their top commission level and they got a little team going and they're making a few hundred or a few $1,000s a month, it's going to be their idea to try to move up the ladder from there. They're going to then want to get into a corporate position with the company and move up the ladder. And some may not. They may want to stay where they are, and that's fine, because I believe in meeting people where they are. So to me, this is the way I like to present getting someone started a business. Of course, there's so many tools. You got the mission-driven model is a great resource, and the Freedom Revolution. They got all the training there, and you guys. I mean, Wendy and the team. You guys have great leadership in your support team that you have in this team here. All those resources are available, but I think a lot of times we miss how we introduce this to people. That we're painting that finish line. And then the other thing is, when we do it at that 2,000 plus, is if they don't make it there, then they let you down and they're a total failure. And that's not really the case. Remember the rule of three. You've all heard this, but remember the rule of three. It works in our business as well. For every 3 people that you put on as a franchisee, 1 will probably HLP. And for every 3 that HLP, 1 will probably 2,000 plus. And for every 3 that 2,000 plus, 1 will probably make it to sales coordinator. So you think about how many people do you have to really bring into your business to get that sales coordinator. But here's the cool thing. Whether one person's doing a lot or a bunch of people are doing a little, they're all important to your business. I mean, I've often said I'd rather have 10 people with 3 customers each than 1 person with 30. The one with 30 is going to take all my time. The 10 that have 3, they take none of my time. Now, I love all of them, and I'm going to hug and love on all of them. But think about that. So we get so caught up, we sponsor someone, and we get so caught up in them wanting, we're trying to force our goals and our aspirations on them, rather than meeting them where they are. So understand the rule of 3. When you go out and sponsor somebody and you come back to your support team and say, neither one of them did anything, well, great, the next one probably will. You have to think that way. You can't get down and get disappointed, because I find we spend too much time with too few people a lot of times in our business. And it's difficult when we move up into the sales coordinator, especially that position, and we got a couple of people under us and we're feeling responsible for them, and we get into that management type mode because we want to help them, we want to support them and so forth. But you have to be careful of that. Always continue to build. Always continue to fill the funnel. Never quit doing that. Always continue to fill the funnel. One thing is, it's fun. It keeps you energized. I love sponsoring people after 30 years. This is so fun. I mean, it's really cool. It'll energize you. It'll keep you focused and keep you on point. So for me, I think painting the whole picture for people is one thing. That's one part of what I talked about here. And the other thing is don't be afraid to put it out there with some of your customers about, hey, some of these couple of options that they may have. You never know who may bite. I don't believe in having wholesale buyers. I don't believe in somebody signing an application for $50 and just them are on the product and they're the only one in the world that's going to take it and they're never going to say anything to anybody. No, I'm going to make my profit on that customer. That's how the system's set up. But there are going to be people out there. How many national marketing directors have you heard give their speech and they start out with, I just wanted to offset the cost of the product for my family? So many start that way. How many do you hear it says, I just want to make $1,000 a month and I'm quitting after a while? Me. So don't forget that. You can do it in a way that we're not like all the other companies out there from a standpoint of, hey, look, this product's really good, but if you really want to make some money, no, that's not the verbiage I use. Say, look, how would you like to see about maybe offsetting the cost of your product, especially if they have given me that little sign that maybe that's something they want to do. And I start just with the children's product and doing it that way. That's a simple way to start. So anyway, Wendy, that was kind of a couple of things. I don't know how long you want me to go here, or if anybody had a question or whatever you want to do. But that was a couple of things I really felt that was near and dear to me, that yes, we do need to bring more people into our business as a business, but don't expect all of them to become national marketing directors. How many do you have to go through at the rule of 3 to get an NMD? Might be a few. There might be a few, but it's well worth it. But keep in mind, that person that just does the U and 2 and nothing else, those people are just as important to your business as that national marketing director is, because you're going to have more of them than that NMD. Trust me, you will. So I love our organization is a lot of people doing a little overall around the world in 20-something countries that we get paid on every month. That's really cool. That's really cool, because when I go to bed in a few hours tonight, guess what? People in Australia and New Zealand, they're waking up, they're going to work. I'm getting paid while I'm sleeping tonight. That's a pretty cool deal. You can't find that everywhere. Anyway, Wendy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Danny. That was fabulous training. Just really loved everything that you covered. Was just so informative. New ways of looking at it. I really hadn't thought about the distribution and the consumer to consumer. That was very, very eye-opening for me, and I'm sure it was for many of us. So thank you so much. I'm just curious, just a quick question for you. There are so many tools, and I'm just wondering how you integrate starting somebody brand new with the tools. Do you bring them into the mission-driven model fairly quickly so they know where the videos are? I'm just kind of curious about how you do that.
I think it's a personal thing for everybody. It's kind of like when someone says, well, what video do you use for your prospects? I always tell people I have the same answer, the one you like best. That's the one you use, that you like best. So there are a lot of tools. I still like the structure of the Freedom Revolution, having the starter guide and utilizing some of the videos there and so forth, because the starter guide is just basic. It's what we did 30 years ago. The first thing I was asked to do when I joined a business was get a list of names. Put a memory jogger together. I still have my original one. 300 and something names. I got to about 100 of them. I still got a couple of hundred on there I hadn't gotten to yet. Maybe in the next 30 years. I don't know. Yeah. But, you're not going to get to all. But it's real basic. I find that the mission-driven model, now they just updated it and revamped it. In fact, I just sent out a message today that you now have to have a passcode to get on it. But I find it's got great resources in there. In other words, you can use those resources in training people the way that you want to train them. But I think, Wendy, the way that I answer this best is the first thing to do when you get a new franchisee, the very first thing you do before you do anything else is interview them. Interview them. Find out about them. Find out, what do they do for work? What time do they leave the house in the morning? What time do they get up? Do they have kids? Do they have activities outside the home? Find out who is this person and what's their world look like. And then try to figure out with them, you guys come up with a plan together. How can we incorporate this into what you're already doing without disrupting it? That's the first thing I want to do. Is I don't want this to become a secondary, I got to clock out at 5 and then go to work with Juice Plus. What kind of time freedom does that create for you? So to me, the first thing is interview your prospect. So many times I get on an introduction call with some of our people, whether it's a Zoom or a phone call or whatever, and we get off and they go, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know they had that degree. I didn't know they lived there before. And I said, well, you never asked them. So the very first thing, when you get a new person coming into the business, interview them. You would do that on a regular job. you would interview them and see, if they were qualified or what skills they have. So to me, interview them, and there are some tools out there, but here's the thing, meet them where they are at. Mm-hmm. Meet them where they are at. Do not try to push them. If Carrie would have told me I could have made X amount of money or, a year or six figures and all this kind of stuff, I probably would have never got involved. That would have scared me.
Yeah.
And so the big credit I give him in recruiting me early on as, a referral that we didn't know each other was the fact he met me where I was. And he did that for a long time. I was hard-headed too. And I wanted to kind of, he used to say I was on the 4-month plan. He would tell me to do something, and 4 months later I'd decide, yeah, I think that's a good idea, I'll do it. I wouldn't listen real well. So I learned from that is meet people where they are. So to me, I think that there are some tools out there to use. If your team's using something already and it's working, then continue with it.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you may want to investigate some other things. But I like the basics. I like the basics of a list of names. Take that list of names and pre-qualify your top 10 or 20 to go after first. They may be people you might be comfortable with. You may be people that you think really would embrace the product or the business. Just start with the basics there. And the other thing is, and you've heard this a million times, all of you, don't do it by yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't try to do it by yourself. I mean, I work with people of all backgrounds, and I'll tell the most busiest surgeon, listen, you can take my heart out and put it on the table and work on it, put it back in, and I can get up and walk off the table, but you've never done this. So you're going to need to use the guidance and the resources and the wisdom of the people that have done this. So just kind of keep that in mind. I know it's a long explanation for that, but I still kind of like the basics of starting someone in the business and using those two websites really, really good. I think Freedom Revolution is really good. I think Mission Driven Model is really good, both of them. And, of course, we have a virtual office. It's got some things on there as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're kind of moving into some changes with all that in the future here. So it's probably all going to be brought to us and incorporated in one place. But while we're here, it's just about relationships, building relationships, not getting too insecure and jumping to a tool too quickly because I love that. Just focus on getting to know them, who they are, what they're about, what drives them, what's their why. I love it. So
one other thing I'll jump in and say here, we have to remember we're working with volunteer help. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever worked in an organization, a church, a civic organization where you're working with volunteers, you don't tell volunteers what they have to do because they don't have to do anything. So when people come into our business, they're not eating out of this. They're not paying their bills with this. This is not their full-time income. So you got to be careful working with volunteer people. They're volunteering to come into our business and work this business. So if you're constantly telling them what they have to do, they're not going to stay a volunteer with you very long. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very cautious of that. So just remember, we're all volunteer help. Now you get to a position where maybe you're not volunteer anymore because the income gets too serious and things like that. But for most people starting out especially, just remember they're volunteering to do this and they don't have to do it. So don't tell them they have to do anything. Ask them and talk to them in that manner as if they are a volunteer. How do you feel about this? Would you be comfortable talking to 2 other people about getting on the trio? Find out. Do that. Meet them where they are.
Love it.
Hey, Dan, I've got a question. Oh, can I jump in?
Yeah.
Hey, so, Danny, I have a question for you. So, we hear a lot about the younger generation now and how quickly they're growing and, focusing on making sure we get the next generation in underneath what we've already built to add longevity. And I get all that. But what type of advice would you share for us as far as the 40 and over crowd? My peer group is in the 50s and 60s. So I'm just wondering, for those of us that are, for the most of our lives, dealing in the 40, 50, and 60-year-olds, how do you go about that approach? You see where I'm headed with this? So much focus
Gotcha.
on the younger generation, but for me, I need to be able to capture people my age.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, a couple of things here on that, Brian, is one is, I laugh because people talk about, oh, these 30, 20 and 30 something year olds. Well, that was us when we started. You look around at, Jeff Roberti or Kerry Daigle or Danny Martin or Sean and Jennifer Myers. We were all in our 20s and 30s when we started. So we were that. What happened is with Juice Plus, there was a shift where we started to attract, because of the product, an older generation that was concerned about health and nutrition and things like that. That pendulum's starting to swing a little bit now. To me, yeah, I think we need to get the 20-something, the 30-somethings, the under 40 crowd. I call that the under 40. I call that the younger crowd. We need to get the younger crowd involved in our business because that's the future of our business down the road. The thing that I've learned, though, is this. One, they're not going to be real relatable to me. They don't want to go hang out with me. They don't want to be in my culture. They don't want to be in my community. Mm-hmm. So what you have to find is you have to find some of those that are in that community, and they may be some of our kids or relatives or something that are younger. If you can find one or two, then they can create their own culture. But, I learned this. I just spent the month of February in New Zealand and Australia working with the team there. And we had a super Saturday while I was in Perth, and there was two young girls, both NMDs, 23 and 26 years old, and they were training. And they said, I don't want to go hang out with my friend Bob, my neighbor Bob. I'm going to get Bob on the product, but I'm not going to talk to Bob about the business because I don't want to go hang out with Bob because he's 50. I don't want Bob hanging around us, when we go out, because we're different. And so that was a real eye-opener for me, because when I got up, kind of closed the day, but when I got up, I said, I learned today that my name is Bob, and Sophie and them don't want to hang out with me, Jess and Sophie don't want me, but it was a real eye-opener that they don't want to hang. So here's the way you can get around that. Find you some of those 20 or 30-year-olds under 40 that would like to be mentored for a period of time. Not work with me, not come into my, culture and my community and we're going to hang out together. No. How would you like to be mentored from someone that has 5 years experience, 10 years, in my case, 30 years experience with this? How would you like for someone to and interview these people? One of the questions I love asking them is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What's the perfect world look like 5 years from now? Talk to these people, interview these younger people, interview them and talk to them and find out what their dreams and aspirations and things are. And then the next best question is what are you doing to get there? What are you doing to get there? Would you like for someone like me that's been an entrepreneur for the last 30 years, I've built an international business. Would you be interested in me mentoring you? We're not going to hang out, but would you be interested in mentoring me? And I think that's a way that we have to go after that group is to say, look, we want to help mentor you, and here's something we can do. As far as the older crowd, traditionally the over 40 crowd has been real easy to get on the product for the most part because they've experienced disease and illnesses, or they've taken care of elderly parents and things like that. But I think in their situation, again, I go back and talk a lot of times to people about what are you planning for the D list? I have this D list, and I think there was a book somewhere that they had 4 Ds in it. I got 7 now. And what's the D list? Is what if everything's perfect in your life right now, no matter what age you are, but what if something like divorce happens? What if you become dissatisfied? What if you become disabled? What if there's a disaster? What if you incur debt that you're not expecting? So I've got these 7 Ds that I like to talk to people about. Because everything may be great now, but do you have a plan B? Do you have a backup? What would you do in this scenario? And it just gets people thinking. But what I've learned, Brian, is is we can go after our generation, the 40 and up. We can go after these people, and they want to be a part of us, and they want to belong to something. And for a lot of the women, I find they just want to have some sense of self-identity. They don't want to be Dr. Smith's wife forever, or the governor's wife, or whoever it may be. And so I find a sense of belonging is big for the over 40 crowd in our society. But the younger ones, the only way that I can tell you, they don't want to hang out with us. That you can't say, hey man, you come into business and we could work together, and now they're not interested now because we're old. I remember I gave someone a Dr. Du Bois Whole Truth CD one time, and this guy was probably in his 20s. And I called him back and I said, did you watch the CD? And he said, the one with the really old dude on it? And I'm thinking, Rick and I play golf together. I don't think he's that old. I mean, he's a little older than me, but, when you get a certain age, older to you is 20 years older than you are right now. And Rick's not 20 years older than me. But that was the response. It was like, oh, that really old dude on there. And it got me to thinking, well, to this 20-year-old, that's a grandfather or a great-grandfather. So we have to understand. The other thing, too, and lastly, I don't want to go on too long on this, but when you bring a younger person in, you kind of need to let them do this how they want to do it. You're not going to tell them to have a salad in a jar party, maybe, or a smoothie party, or whatever. They're going to want to use social media. The only thing I talk about, I mean, I don't know how many NMDs we've got in Australia now over the years, 40, 50, whatever. And most of them are the younger generation. So I work with this generation a lot. You see them at the conferences. We just had 3 or 4 at the last conference. They're all young. It's not me. I can tell you, it's not me. It's we got a few that built their culture, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a couple of these younger ones to do that. But let them do whatever they're going to do. The only thing I tell them is at some point you've got to bring that conversation, you've got to bring it to a person-to-person thing, whether it's a Zoom on the phone or texting or Facebook messaging. It doesn't matter. But, you can put it out there and engage in conversation. Then you invite them to look. But at that point, then you got to take it personal. And that's what most of them are doing. They say, well, I'm building my business on social media. No, they're generating leads on social media. They're building their business just like you and I do. Basically, they may not be talking to them on the phone, but they're talking to them through messaging. But they're not just putting it out there on social media and people are going to the website and ordering. I think people have a misconception of what the younger generation is doing. So we just have to understand they're different. Mm-hmm. And we can look for them, but I think we need to be more of a mentor to that generation as we're older than we do a business partner with them. Now, eventually they'll come around and like hanging out with us. The Aussies like hanging out with me now. They don't mind that so much because, I'm cool now. I wasn't cool when they first saw the old guy, right? That's coming over here from America or whatever with the weird accent. So I think, to kind of help with that's just where I see it and what my experience has been.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks, Danny.
Awesome. Well, we will wrap it up, you guys. Danny, this has been fabulous. Just incredible training. Thank you so, so much for your generosity, for just how you were so willing to say, hey, if you ever want a team call, I'm like, oh boy, yeah.
And we can do another one sometimes. Just let me know.
But it just shows the kindness of your heart. It shows your character. It shows why you're so successful. You're such a giving person. And we just want you to know as a team how much we appreciate this. And just thank you, you guys. Let's kind of give them a hand. I know you guys are all on mute.
You guys are great. Thank you so much.
Really?
I really enjoyed it.
Yes. Happy anniversary to you too. Yeah. How many years did you say you've been married?
30 last Sunday, a week ago.
Hey, congratulations.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And I know y'all want to know the secret, right?
Yes.
Just what? I don't try to run her life, and I don't run mine.
Oh, God.
That's chauvinistic. What can I say?
All right, well, we'll wrap up. Thank you, Danny. Thanks, you guys, for being on. Just appreciate it. We all have a lot to chew on here, don't we? So we'll get in some conversation about it. But
Awesome.
yeah,
If I can help anytime, let me know.
Thanks,
If you guys
Danny.
need to message me.
yeah.
Shoot me a message. I'm happy to talk. Find me on Facebook. I'm the one that spells my name weird, D-A-N-Y.
Yeah.
We're not friends, friend me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
Bye, guys. See you.
Bye.
Thanks, Danny.
Y'all are awesome.
Bye-bye.
Katie, hang on for just a second.
Okay.
No, I meant Kate. I was going to ask Katie a question. I think I missed her already, though. Oh, no.
Oh,
That's
Okay.
right.
I thought you said Danny.
No, sorry about that.
I have permission to leave.
You do.
yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
All right,
Danny.
guys. Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Happy birthday to your son. So you
Or did
went,
I just, I guess I lost Katie. Oh, well.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
Darn.
thanks,
I'll
you
box her. That's all right.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording here.